Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and in this episode of Major League Baseball picks out on the prices that I think make for good bets using the predictive mathematical model that I've built, actually called Sideline, for games scheduled to be played on Tuesday, July 4th, 2023. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for some explanations and community rules. Remember, if you're interested in projections and picks on every single game, sign up in Dub Club. That link is in the show description. Cost is under $1 per day. You'll get money lines, run lines, first fives, totals, all sorts of great information and exclusive access to our Discord chat. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game and does not try to forecast it to a T as it'd be a foolish and impossible goal. There are no right sides or wrong sides. Rather, there are prices where any side should be played. Whether using my model or someone else's, this is the probabilistic thinking that is key to growing your bankroll instead of draining it. There will be ups and downs, but with this sort of thinking, these things do balance out in the long run. It's just hard to foresee before it happens. In other words, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So the long run profitability has been proven. Winning every single day is an impossible reality for any gambler. I talk about good and bad variance. I say that statement every day. It's always a good reminder for us. And my goodness, we saw bad variance like crazy in that Angels game. Had the Angels, and I kind of mentioned there were a lot of different ways you could have played that one that I thought the price was good, whether it was first five or, full game. I ended up going full game run line. And of course, the Angels bullpen at the end of it when they were down kind of give up extra, garbage runs. But the Angels should have been up, by multiple runs by the fifth inning. And that sets up for a completely different game. I don't think I've ever seen, I think it was through 4 innings. The Angels had 11 base runners, none by error. And I think Snell had made 11 pitches that got outs. I've never seen a 50-50 ratio like that where a guy hadn't given up any runs. That was just incredible to see a team have a whip over 2 and not allow any runs for that stretch. And then the Angels finally got a couple, but still were leaving guys on. So just a wild game there. And that's just the sort of thing that's going to balance out, right? We're going to be on the other side of that. Maybe you were, hopefully you were. But you're going to be on the right side of that and the wrong side of that. And that's why we don't get too caught up in, hey, you made this prediction on this game. I'm not making a prediction on a game. What I'm making is a suggestion that the price here offers long-term profitability. I don't have a magic 8 ball. Anybody who tells you they do, I won't have to say it. We got a lot of great games here on Independence Day. Happy Independence Day for those of you with me here in America. But before we get to it, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, college football, or coming this fall NFL content that this channel provides. You'll see how I scale my picks on the screen and in the Google Sheet with the season results. That link's in the show description. But as always, with scaling and with picks, take what you like and leave the rest. Going to start off here at 1 p.m. Eastern. One of my 2 favorite plays of the day here in New York. Remember, if you're interested in the play of the day, the pick that I made that I like just a little bit better than this one, you can get that over on Dub Club. They get the play of the day each and every day. On top of that, there is the early game in Washington. If you're watching this early, I'm not covering that game on here simply because I know many of you won't be up and watching it. That game happens so early. But if you are watching this really early and you're interested, I do have an A-grade pick on that game as well over for our people on Dub Club. Of course, that game gets going in about 2 hours, so it's going to be happening here before you know it. But in New York, I really like this pick here. I would play the total if I was making multiple picks too. I would go over the current number of 8.5. I'd go over 9. Model projects 9.6. We're going to have a hot day in New York, mid 80s to start. That's a little bit warmer than a usual game at that stadium. And the wind will be blowing out at almost 10 miles per hour. It's going to boost the weather. The heat and the wind is going to boost runs, according to my model, by about 17% in what's a fairly neutral park on a normal day, on an average day. But again, New York's one of those places, and we talk about a handful of them in the country, that don't really have a ton of average days. They get a lot of days that are more extreme, a little more variance as to what type of weather you can expect. This is going to be on the higher run scoring days in Yankee Stadium. I think there's going to be a lot of runs in this one, and you compound that with 2 very average pitchers. According to my model, both of these guys right around league average, both of them with mid 4s in the ERAs, and both of them, if you look underneath the hood, that seems about right. They do project a tiny bit better than they've pitched this season, but it's really rounding error at this point. I think calling these guys mediocre is understandable really any which way you look at it. But both of these bullpens are really good. The Yankees relievers have been fantastic this year. I think they don't have quite the back end that the Orioles have, but the Yankees' depth at reliever is incredible. It's like every guy they throw out there seems to be really good. Both sets of relievers are good. They're just going to need probably a lot of work today. I don't see these starters going overly. Obviously, Gibson just goes deeper anyway. They trust him to go longer than the Yankees do with Clark Schmidt. But with this weather, there's just going to be a lot of runs. It's going to be tough on anybody, whether it's the starters getting an early hook or whether it's relievers. Somebody's going to give up some home runs, and there's really nothing they can do about it because a routine fly ball is probably going to get out in this park on a day like today. And of course, this Yankees offense, not very good without Aaron Judge. I've been saying that for the last month, but this Orioles offense well above average. So I'd be going over if I didn't like the other pick better. My main pick on this one, though, Orioles plus 105, A grade here. Model says that the Orioles win this 56% of the time. We very rarely ever see a game where a team is that much higher than 50%, but we get plus odds. It's an easy A grade pick, one of my 2 favorite picks of the day. Model says anything minus 111 or better gets that A grade. You can also, of course, take the run line. The A grade price on the Orioles plus 1.5 would be minus 224. I don't really know why you would in this situation, but that would also be an A grade. You can also look first 5. That's obviously an A grade as well. If you want to take the plus half, the A grade price, that's minus 135. I'm seeing minus 110 in the market. So great value on that one as well. Or if you wanted the first 5 money line, the plus 125, anything plus odds is an A grade there. So no matter which way you look at it, it's an A grade. I'm just going to go full game on this one. Why is that? Because in general, I default to full game. It's got less variability than the first 5 because you have basically double the amount of time. And so when I shift to first 5, it's specifically because of something happening with bullpens or starting pitchers. And in this case, as good as the Yankees relievers are, I think the Orioles relievers are good as well. I don't see a situation where the Orioles are up early and then I'm worried about the game. Doesn't mean they can't blow it. But I don't really think there's any massive edge to going first 5 in this one. So I'm just going to stick to the full game. But if that's a way you want to look, of course, any way you want to bet the Orioles, I think makes a lot of sense. One of my favorite plays of the day. 2:10 p.m. Eastern, Royals at the Twins. Got us the winners on the Twins yesterday. I said Twins team total over. I said Twins on the money line. We took Twins on the run line. I said game over. All of those hit. It was a very successful game for us there in Minnesota. And this one is very interesting. I'm going to highlight the main pick, and then I'm going to come back to the other one because I think there's some really good discussion about this game. And I was really this was an easy one for me to pick to talk about on the show because there's just so much to dive into. First off, for the pick, I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to go over on this one. I talked about the over yesterday, but it was my second favorite pick. Now my favorite pick for today is the over 9, minus 104 odds. Anything around the normal minus 110 makes a lot of sense. Model projects 10.4. It's going to be another hot day in Minnesota, hotter than yesterday, upper 80s. The wind will be blowing out at stronger than 5 miles an hour for the whole game, over 10 for parts of it, up towards 15. There's just going to be a lot of runs in this one. And the pitchers are just like I talked about in the first game, very average. Maeda has been better in years past than this year, but even the underlying metrics this year aren't really that rosy. It's obviously he's better than that 6.23 ERA. He's only made 6 starts this season. But even when you look at the historical data and the underlying metrics, he's an okay pitcher. He's just not that great. Zach Greinke At this point in his career, I think it's good for him that he's around league average. And coming into the season, he got a well below average grade because model sees his age and thinks, um, you know, at that age, pitchers fall off. We've seen it a little bit with Verlander this year, kind of surprisingly. We've seen it with hitter every year. There's Wainwright, my goodness, just completely falling off a cliff. And Greinke didn't do that, but he's still not good. 5.15 ERA on the season. Now the underlying metrics do say it should be more in the mid to low fours. But at this point in his career, Greinke's just trying to get by as an average pitcher. He's very crafty, and that prevents him from getting hit around, as most pitchers at his age and lack of velocity at this point in his career, based off of, compared to how good he was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Right. So good for him, but average. But you got two average pitchers in a day like this, the ball is just going to fly. These relievers are also a lot worse than a set of relievers in the first game that we talked about. That's why I'm took the side there, taking the over here. Twins relievers decent, but not as good as Baltimore's and New York's. Royals relievers getting worse by the day, it seems like. And of course, they've got more trades probably coming later in the month. Lots of runs expected in this one, just like last night. Ball is going to fly. I'm on the over 9. With regards to the side, this is the first time in looking at the first 5 model that I've built and the full game model that there's actually an edge on opposite sides for each one. What do you do with that? I have no idea. I think it's an interesting case. It's a rare case. It's not impossible that both win. I do think, though, that it does tell you which side you like, which way makes more sense to play it. And so I think it's some great discussion here. I'm going to start off with the first 5 innings. For the first 5, model says the Twins win 63% of the time. That's pushes removed, and that the correct price should be 167. You can get plus 180 on the Royals. So if you're looking at the Royals, I would definitely be betting them first 5. The Twins bullpen much better. I do not want any part of the full game. I do not know why the odds don't reflect this, but the Royals in the first 5, not a bad look if you're looking for a dog at plus 180. Not quite to an A grade. A grade would be plus 195. But you do have an A grade on the first 5 run line. And this would be my pick if you're on the Royals. Royals plus half a run, according to my model, wins 47% of the time. A grade price would be plus 127. You can get plus 130 right now. There's going to be a lot of runs. It could easily be a 3-3 game after 5 innings. And so I think you got a lot of value here. Don't really know what's going to happen. And the strength of the Twins with regard the edge that the Twins have pitching isn't going to really take hold until later on in the game. With regards to the full game, model says that it should be Twins minus 200. They win 67% of the time. That the A grade price would be minus 172. A B grade price would be minus 187. You can currently get minus 185. So if you like the Twins, I like them on the full game. I don't think paying minus 185 is a bad deal. Why you would pay minus 210 on the first 5 rather than the minus 185 for the full game is beyond me. I don't know why you would want to do that, because again, the probability that the Twins win increases as the game goes on, considering the fact that their edges get stronger with pitching and their offensive edge takes hold. So the probability should definitely go up. You should have to pay more of a price. I don't quite get it. So if you like the Twins, I'm going full game. The run line price, almost an A grade. It looks a lot like yesterday, and that'd be the way I would look at it. I'd be looking at run line either direction. A grade pick on the run line for the Twins needs to be plus 108. The actual price is plus 105 right now. So you're basically right at that A grade. Models, so the Twins can cover the run line for the full game 52% of the time. So situation where if you're looking for the dog, like the Royals, I'd go plus 1.5, plus half for the first 5. If you like the Twins, I'd be looking more run line. I'm just going to avoid it, watch it, see what happens, learn. Right? There's a lot of learning that we can have here watching these games, and avoid that and focus on the over 9. I think there's a lot of runs. The weather sets up nicely for an over. 4:10 p.m. Eastern, Phillies at the Rays. Another situation where there's edges on both sides, and so I did a lot of thinking on this as to which one I liked the most. With regards to the side here, Aaron Nola versus Zach Eflin. Model says that the Rays should be favored. They're the home team. They have the much better offense. Their relievers aren't as good as the Phillies, but starting pitcher-wise, surprisingly, it's a wash. Y'all know I've been talking about Zach Eflin, how much I like him all season long. That 3.29 ERA is not a mirage. Underlying metrics support it completely. And while Aaron Nola is better than his 4.51 ERA, a lot of his rating comes from last year at this point. His underlying metrics this season not overly positive. So at this point, model thinks Eflin's slightly better. It's probably rounding error. It's probably pretty much a coin toss here between these two pitchers. But of course, the Rays at home with, with their really good offense should definitely be favored. Model says they win 61% of the time, that the correct price should be minus 156. A grade's minus 135. So it lands at a B grade right now at minus 137. But if you like the Rays, that makes a lot of sense on the money line. The run line edge is about the same. Usually the run line and money line edges, according to my model, are within about 1% of each other. It's usually rounding error. You just pick which one you like the most for whatever reason. The model does incorporate the fact that road teams are more likely to cover run lines. It looks at all the different various factors, right? And usually they're priced pretty well. There's not a lot of difference. And this is one of those cases. I'm going to talk about the next game where that's not necessarily true. But for this game, I think it doesn't really matter. If you want to play it a little safer, take the Rays on the money line, minus 137. That's a solid pick. B plus. If you want to take the Rays on the run line, right now it's an A minus at plus 155. A grade price is plus 154. Model says the Rays cover the run line 43% of the time. So at 43%, getting odds better than plus 150. It's a really good investment. I like the Rays absolutely, but I like the total more. I'm actually going to go first five under 4.5. Model projects the first five total to be 3.6. The strength in the total under lies in these starting pitchers. Both of them are very good. I don't like the full game under, and that's usually not the case. Usually, if we like an under, you probably like the first five in the full game. Most of the time, it's pretty similar. As I mentioned with the run line, money line difference, the odds aren't drastically different. The projections are pretty similar. It's kind of like if you like one, you like both. If you pass on one, you pass on both. That's not the case here. The full game total is 8, and the model projects 8.2. You've got a below average Rays bullpen here, and their really good offense tends to get them in higher scoring games than people realize. But for the first five, I project 3.6. So under 4.5, little bit of juice on this one. But if you go under 4, that's also a smart pick. You would just be looking for more like even money or maybe even plus odds on that play. But I don't like the full game under. I do like the first 5 under. It's a hold your breath kind of play. Any of these first 5 totals are, because you don't have many runs to play with. But both these starting pitchers are really good. If you don't like the total, though, there's a lot of different ways that you can play the Rays to make sense. You can play the Rays first 5. The edges on the first 5 are a lot smaller, though. They're priced a little bit too steep. If I was going with the Rays, I would stick to full game, whether it's money line or run line. And then wrapping up this show, a night game for you here, 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Braves with the Guardians. Got the Braves last night. A similar situation here with regards to the weather as yesterday. A warmer night in Cleveland. We are into July, low 80s to start, upper 70s to close, but the wind blowing in is going to basically nullify that effect. And so we're talking about weather that's more favorable to a pitcher, because of the fact that the park is pretty pitcher friendly and the wind is going to offset slightly warmer temperatures. And by the end of the game, it's not going to be that warm anyway. I do like the under 9. It's not the pick on this one, but if I was playing a total, under 9 makes a lot of sense. Model projects 8. I think that there are more overs here, hotter weather. I'm on a lot more overs than unders at this point because this ball is flying in the warmer weather, but I don't think the weather sets up for this to be a good over spot. So I'd be looking at the under, just like I mentioned for yesterday. That one hit as well, but it's not the main pick on this one. I like that a little bit less than I like the side here. I'm going to take the Braves at minus 121, and do note that if you're with us on Dub Club, I gave out every day the projections for the next day in a cheat sheet with a ton of information, and you would have been able to get the Braves at a price like minus 110 as an A grade yesterday. So some of you out there with us on Dub Club already locked this in at a much better price. So kudos to you. That's the way it tends to go. So you could have gotten a better price if you're with us on Dub Club. If not, minus 121 is still a good investment. It's a B grade pick. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, with now having 4 tiers of picks, A, B, C, D, rather than just A, B, C, I basically broken the A grades into 2 tiers, kind of an A plus and an A minus, and the A minuses are now the B grades. So this is still a good pick. It would have been an A grade. Under the old rules, it would have barely eked into an A grade, but now I'm kind of parsing those out to give the strongest plays a slightly higher designation. So minus 110, I love the Braves. Minus 121, I still think they're a good investment. Model says they win 56% of the time. The correct price should be minus 130. At minus 113 or better, that's the A-grade price. That minus 110 that we were talking about for yesterday would have gotten in there. But interestingly enough, the run line, I don't think is a great edge on this one. Even though the Braves are the road team, the fact that I don't think there's going to be quite as many runs scored as often, caveat, the Braves seem to score a ton of runs anyway, no matter what. But with slightly fewer runs than expected, I don't think the run line edge is that good. Model says that the correct run line price should be Braves plus 133. The actual price is plus 130. So no actual edge there on the Braves run line, but a decent edge on the money line. Again, why is that? I think with a slightly lower scoring game, it's going to be harder for the Braves to win by multiple runs. I see a game playing out pretty similar to last night. I believe the Braves won that one 4-2, something kind of similar. Doesn't mean the Braves can't cover the run line, but if it's a 4-2 type game, it's going to make that run line a little bit harder to cover because then it's more likely it turns out accidentally to be 3-2 or 4-3. But some sort of low scoring close game. But the Braves, I think, are the right side here to back at this price. Obviously, again, price is everything. Their offense is so much better than Cleveland's. Cleveland's very left-handed heavy. Colby Allard, I'll figure that out probably after tonight. I'll watch this one to figure out how to say his name. Looked really good in his first start. Underlying metrics were very positive. Former, top-ish prospect, maybe not, hyped, but definitely a guy who people were high on, making his first appearance here already this season after some injuries. Looked really good. I expect him to continue that. And again, in a pitcher-friendly ballpark against a team that's not supposed to do well against lefties, he should have a lot of success. I do think Bieber is the better pitcher in this one, but it's not by that much. The underlying metrics for Bieber, not overly positive. He's kind of trending more towards league average. He's still good. It's just, and like I mentioned before with him, it's really hard to tell exactly where he falls. There's a lot of question marks with his velocity. There's a lot of things happening. I think we'll have a better picture maybe in another month. But for now, I still think Bieber's good. I just don't think he's that much better than the Braves starter, especially in comparison to how much better the Braves offense is than the Guardians. I mean, it's a world of difference, especially the Guardians against a lefty. So the Braves at this price, I think, make way too much sense. They are on the road, but their offense is just so much better than Cleveland's. Relievers, probably better than Cleveland's, but both sets of relievers are really good. The edges the Guardians have are small. The edge that the Braves have is huge. So Braves full game makes a lot of sense. You could also look at the first five if you wanted, but similar to the run line, the first five prices not overly great, at least at the moment. But the full game money line price still has a little bit of an edge. Again, we've lost about a dime of the advantage from yesterday. Hopefully we don't lose any more, and we can still get this in around minus 120. And that's all I've got for you here today. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy the sports betting content provided on this channel. Dropped right into your feed. Be back again tomorrow with more sports betting content. But until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet you're eating money.